Welcome, everybody, to Local Leads. My name is Rich, and I get to be your host for today's webinar. Today is going to be a real short video on how to transfer an external buyer lead. So, in previous videos, we went over really what the differences are between an external lead and an internal lead, right? Most of our clients, like we talked about, are usually State Farm agents, Allstate agents, Nationwide agents, and they're usually looking for people that are really more responsible in the insurance carrier's eyes, like in State Farm's eyes. So they're looking for people that, have a good driving record, pay their insurance on time, things like that. And so the reason we have external buyer leads are because some people that you talk to just don't fit into that category, right? And we're going to go through really the reasons that a lead might not fit into that category. And really the main ones are going to be their zip code, if they have tickets and accidents, if they have a DUI, obviously, and how long they've had insurance. Okay, so those are really the four areas that if they answer those wrong and they don't kind of fit into our box, then they're going to go to our external buyer. And that's what we're going to go over, the process of exactly what the differences are between a traditional lead, which you saw in the last video on how to create and transfer. This process is going to be totally different. It's going to be a much shorter process. We only gather a few bits of information about the lead before we go ahead and transfer it, and the transfer process itself is different as well. So I'm going to encourage you at this point is to grab a notepad if you need to really go over the differences between an internal buyer lead and then an external buyer lead, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to jump over to our CRM, and let's say we got a phone call, right? We're in Whitell, we get a phone call. We do the zip check. This is the first place where you're going to know whether or not it's an internal buyer lead or an external buyer lead. So let's go ahead and suggest that it's going to be an external buyer lead. So we're going to do a zip check. And when the zip code comes back, it says no agents were found. Well, obviously, we can go ahead and say that's going to be an external buyer lead. So we're going to go through the external buyer process. So the first thing is we're going to continue with the conversation just as normal. So whenever you grab a zip code, you're obviously going to ask them who they're insured with next. So we're going to go ahead and say, okay, great, well, who's your insurance carrier? And you're going to say, okay, well, AAA. Perfect. And how long have you been with AAA insurance? And this is where you're going to find out how long they've been with their current insurance carrier. And the reason we're asking this is because when we transfer to the external buyer, we're going to be transferring to an automated system that is going to ask us some questions. And so instead of transferring it to an agent, we're going to transfer it kind of to an automated system and then an agent. So we're only going to ask a couple questions. So right here, we're going to ask, okay, great, how long have you been with AAA auto insurance? And and it doesn't really matter at this point what they say, because it doesn't matter if we don't have a zip code. It doesn't matter if they have a good driving record, bad driving record, or if they have insurance or not. So this is just to answer the questions that we're going to need to in the automated system. So, okay, I've only been with them for 6 months. Okay, great. Do you have any tickets or accidents? Yeah, I've got 2. All right, any DUIs? No. Okay, fantastic. And how do you spell your last name? Okay, we want to gather a little bit of information for them or from them, so that way if we need to call them in the future, we can. Okay, well, my last name is Smith. Great, S-M-I-T-H. You gather it just like you gather a normal one, and spell your first name, John. Okay, John. And is this phone number the phone number that you called in on? Is that a good number for you to reach you back at? And they're going to say something like yes. So you go over here and you pick up your phone number and you copy and paste it into here just like you do in the normal transfer, okay? And so we're going to put it back into here, and that's really all we're going to do, okay? At this point, you don't need to save and email it yet. You just need to prep the client that you're going to transfer them. So you're like, okay, you gather that info, you got the phone number. Okay, fantastic. What I'm going to do, John, is I need to put this information into an automated system to get you to the right agent. So I'm actually going to take you with me You're going to hear the questions. I'm going to go ahead and push the buttons and answer those questions. And then in the end, an agent's going to come in on the line. You're going to introduce yourself and just tell them that you want a free quote. Okay, I'm just going to kind of help you go through the process a little quicker. And they're going to say something like, okay, so this is where the transfer process is different. Okay, this is where you need to be taking notes if you're not. Is normally you would click save an email in a traditional lead, like we showed you in the last video. You would click save an email and you'd get a transfer box. Okay, remember that. Well, in this type of lead, we're not going to click save an email yet. We're going to go to the Whitetail screen and hit the transfer button. And this is where it's going to be a little bit different also. Normally, when you would get the phone number, you would copy and paste it into the transfer number. Well, in this case, we're not going to select a transfer number. We're actually going to select a transfer group, okay? And if you look right here under In Group, there's multiple options. So the first thing that we want to choose is the external buyer, okay? So this process is when you're done with the lead, you're going to go over to Whitetail, you're going to hit the transfer button, and you're going to click on external buyer in the drop-down. Now, again, another difference is when you go to transfer this client or this lead to the external buyer, you're going to press the Dial with Customer button. Now, the Dial with Customer button is exactly what it says. You're going to dial with the customer. So in a traditional lead, you hit Park Customer Dial because you want to put the client on hold or the lead on hold and then call out to the insurance agent. So they're listening to elevator music while you talk to the insurance agent. So and then you can come back and introduce them. With this one, we're going to dial with the customer. The customer is going to hear the prompts that are asking you, and you're going to hit the buttons 1 or 2, answer the questions, and then at the very end, as soon as the automated system says, now transferring you to, and maybe it'll say Allstate Nationwide or an independent agency, no matter what it says, that's when you jump back in the line with the client and say, hey, okay, this is the point where you're just going to go ahead and introduce yourself. So the agent's going to come in on the line just a minute. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them you want a free quote. Have a good day. And as soon as that happens, you bow out of the conversation, press your mute, and listen for 60 seconds, making sure that it's going okay. Okay. And so you're going to hit the dial with customer. You'll hit that button, and it'll go through. Now, the same thing, you're going to leave three-way call just the same as you did for the previous transfer. Okay, so you hit the leave three-way call, and it's going to ask you to disposition the lead. Now, a couple notes here to mention is that while you're listening to the phone call for the first 60 seconds, you can listen in and grab the information or some of the information about that lead from that conversation and just input it. Now, we don't want you staying on the phone call for 5 or 10 minutes trying to grab every bit of information, but any information that you can grab, maybe they say their address or maybe they type in the type of car that they drive. If you hear that within the first minute or so, go ahead and fill it out and then select Save an Email Lead. Okay, so obviously we've selected the external buyer at the top. We go to save an email, and we got to fill out some of this dummy information. So this is one example. So when you go through this, you just want to go ahead and just put whatever random information you want because it's not going to matter. It's just saving it to our system so that way we can call them back later. So you just got to fill out anything that has a star with it. You always select male or female, obviously. Just go ahead and put their birth dates like 1975, their marital status. So you just go ahead and fill this out really quickly because the system won't let you save it if you don't. And then 1234 Main Street. Okay, and then you just click Save an Email. Well, if you get through it the first time. So no. Really quickly, Munset residence, 26 or 6, residence type, single family apartment. Okay, let's make sure I got it all. Oh, almost. Okay, save an email. You got to get their email. So none@gmail.com. Now let's see if it saves. Okay, now at this point, what you want to do is you want to select unmatched when you do this. So you're going to go down here when you disposition the lead in the CRM, you want to make sure you click on unmatched lead. Okay, this is the way we flag them to make sure to understand that they go to the external buyer. Okay, so other than that, guys, I know that was a lot of information. I would challenge you to just go back and watch this video again a couple times, go through what the differences are in the scripting, because there's only a few questions that you need to get the transfer going, and you want to do those really as quick as possible, so that way you're not on the phone, because they do pay less commission to do these leads. But you know, each one that you do is just more money every week. So so go ahead and watch this video. Look at the differences between the scripting. Look at the differences between the transfer. Look at how the differences between how we're going to introduce them are, and just make a note of that. So that way, the quicker and the more you understand this, the faster you're going to be able to do leads and the more money you can make. So other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. And if you have any questions, save them for our morning conference calls. They're at 6:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Other than that, we will see you guys in the next video.